May 27, 1941, Berlin. Grand Admiral Erich Raeder's hands were trembling when he returned to his office in the Reichskanzlei. The meeting he had just finished with Hitler was a disaster. For 3 hours he had tried to explain to the Führer why launching a full-scale submarine war in the Atlantic would end in catastrophe. For 3 hours Hitler had refused to listen. Raeder sat at his desk and wrote in his diary, "The Führer refuses to see strategic reality. He believes we could defeat Britain without bringing America into the war. This is illogical. If we launch unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic, we guarantee American intervention. And if America intervenes, we lose this war." Raeder was 65 years old. He had served in the German Navy for 49 years. As commander-in-chief of the Kriegsmarine, he had rebuilt Germany's naval power. And now, at the end of his career, he was desperately working to save his country from certain destruction, because Raeder saw what Hitler didn't see. Opening war against America in the Atlantic was Germany's strategic suicide. Before we continue the story, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. If you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's return to the story. Raeder's nightmare had begun in 1939. When Hitler invaded Poland on September 1st, Raeder's first thought wasn't the Navy. It was Britain and France. That day in his office, he told his Deputy Admiral Karl Dönitz, "If the British declare war, we have nothing. Our Navy isn't ready. Plan Z won't be completed until 1945. If we have to fight now, we lose." Plan Z was Raeder's dream. A 6-year program to build a great battle fleet. 10 battleships, 15 pocket battleships, for aircraft carriers, 23 cruisers, and 249 submarines. This navy could challenge Britain's Royal Navy. But Hitler had told Raeder there would be no war until 1945. "We have at least 6 years, the Führer had said in 1938. "Britain and France won't intervene." Hitler was wrong. On September 3rd, 1939, Britain and France declared war, and Raeder's navy wasn't ready. The report Raeder wrote to his commanders that day was devastating. "We have only 2 battleships, 3 pocket battleships, 1 heavy cruiser, 6 light cruisers, and 57 submarines. Only 22 of these are suitable for Atlantic operations. The Royal Navy has 15 battleships, 7 aircraft carriers, 66 cruisers, and 184 destroyers. We have no chance of winning in conventional naval warfare." Raeder's only hope was unconventional warfare. Commerce raiding attacking Britain's trade routes, submarines hitting Atlantic convoys, surface ships hunting British vessels in distant waters. A difficult strategy requiring patience, but was the only way to force Britain into war weariness and eventually negotiation. This strategy rested on one critical assumption: the United States would remain neutral. Raeder had studied history. He knew that in World War I, Germany had declared unrestricted submarine warfare. German U-boats had attacked all types of ships without warning: neutral ships, passenger ships, medical ships. In May 1915, U-20 sank the RMS Lusitania off Ireland. 1,198 passengers died. 128 were Americans. The sinking of the Lusitania had shocked American public opinion. President Wilson protested. Germany temporarily backed down. But in 1917, Germany resumed unrestricted submarine warfare. In April 1917, America declared war. American intervention changed the war. Fresh troops, unlimited resources, industrial capacity. In November 1918, Germany surrendered. Raeder had learned the lesson. Unrestricted submarine warfare guarantees American intervention, and American intervention guarantees Germany's defeat. In 1939, Raeder told Hitler exactly this: "Mein Führer, an aggressive submarine campaign in the Atlantic will bring America into the war. I can guarantee this. Don't forget the Lusitania." If Americans see German submarines attacking civilian ships once more, Roosevelt will get the public support he needs for war. Hitler became angry. Americans are weak. They don't want to fight. Even if Roosevelt wants it, Congress will never approve. "Mein Führer," Raeder said carefully. "We said the same thing in 1917. We were wrong. Hitler pounded the table. I'm not wrong. We must defeat Britain, and we'll do it with submarines. Raeder tried again. Mein Führer, we can destroy Britain economically, but we must do this carefully. We must attack only military targets. We must comply with international maritime law. We must give America no excuse. Hitler's response was cold. Admiral, you run the Navy. I make the strategic decisions. The meeting was over. When Raeder returned to his office, there was a note he had his private assistant write. Record my official objection to unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic. History will show I was right. Nevertheless, Raeder was realistic. He knew he couldn't change Hitler's order. All he could do was delay and prepare. Karl Dönitz, the submarine commander, was aggressive and ambitious. Dönitz shared Hitler's vision. Total war in the Atlantic. A submarine fleet that would cut Britain's sea routes. Dönitz's plan was simple. 300 submarines, continuously with 100 on patrol, 100 in maintenance, 100 in training. With this force, he could devastate Atlantic convoys, force Britain into submission through starvation. But in 1939, Germany had only 57 submarines, and Raeder knew this wasn't enough. In September 1939, Raeder and Dönitz met with Hitler. Dönitz spoke passionately. Mein Führer, give me 300 submarines and I'll defeat Britain in 6 months. Hitler smiled. You see, Raeder? Dönitz knows how to get things done. Raeder interjected. Mein Führer, building 300 submarines takes years. We currently have an insufficient number of submarines. If we launch a full-scale campaign now, it won't be enough to defeat Britain, but it will be enough to provoke America. Hitler became uncomfortable. How long will it take? At least 3 years, Raeder said. And that's just the submarines. Crew training, support infrastructure, logistics. A realistic timeline is 1943 or 1944. Hitler pounded the table. 3 years. Impossible. Britain will have grown stronger by then. Dönitz intervened. Mein Führer, we can start immediately with the current fleet. We'll increase production while winning. Raeder shot Dönitz a harsh look, but it was too late. Hitler had decided. Dönitz is right, Hitler said. We start immediately. Raeder, prioritize submarine production. Raeder saluted without a word, but when he returned to his office, he wrote in his diary, Dönitz tells the Führer what he wants to hear, not the truth. We can't defeat Britain with 57 submarines, but we can bring America into the war. And that's when we lose. The first weeks of the war confirmed Raeder's concerns. On the evening of September 3rd, 1939, Hitler announced war had been declared. Hours later, Oberleutnant Fritz Julius Lemp, commander of U-30, was patrolling the Atlantic. At 1940, Lemp saw a ship's signal lights. In the darkness, the ship's silhouette was large. Lemp thought it was a British armed merchant cruiser. He gave the order to torpedo. The torpedo hit its target. The ship sank. 117 people died. The ship wasn't a British armed merchant cruiser. It was SS Athenia, a passenger ship carrying 1,400 passengers. 28 were Americans. When the news reached him, Raeder was horrified. Just the first day of war, and a German submarine had sunk a passenger ship. Americans had died. Lusitania was being reborn. Raeder immediately reported to Hitler. Mein Führer, disaster. 30 sank a passenger ship. Americans died. This is exactly what we must avoid. Hitler went mad. Impossible. I didn't order this. No one should attack civilian ships. The commander made a mistake in the darkness, Raeder said, but the result is the same. American public opinion is going crazy. Roosevelt will use this incident. Hitler paced back and forth. Then he turned. Deny it. We didn't do it. The British sank their own ship to blame us. Raeder was shocked. Mein Führer, this won't work. There's evidence. There are survivors. Deny it, Hitler shouted. And tell the submarine commanders, never attack passenger ships. Raeder gave the order, but the damage was done. American newspapers ran headlines of German atrocity. Roosevelt began loosening neutrality laws. Raeder's nightmare was coming true. Throughout the winter of 1939 to 1940, Raeder walked carefully. He gave submarine commanders strict instructions. Attack only identified military ships. Avoid passenger ships from afar. Don't touch ships with neutral flags. The strategy worked. German submarines were sinking British merchant ships, but without creating international incidents. America remained neutral, but Hitler was getting impatient. In March 1940, he summoned Raeder. Results are insufficient, Hitler said. Britain's tonnage is still strong. We must be more aggressive. Raeder was prepared. Mein Führer were destroying British tonnage, but safely. We're not giving America an excuse. I don't care about America, Hitler shouted. We must defeat Britain now. Mein Führer, Raeder said patiently. If we provoke America, we can never defeat Britain. American production, American resources, American forces. These changed the war. Let's not forget 1917. Hitler leaned forward. Raeder, you're old. You're cowardly. I need aggressive commanders like Dönitz. Raeder struggled to maintain his expression. Mein Führer, being careful isn't cowardice. It's strategy. Hitler waved his hand. Your restrictions are giving Britain breathing room. I'm removing them. Submarines can fire freely on all British merchant ships. But Mein Führer are neutral ships. No neutral ships in the neutral zone. Hitler cut in. Every ship is a target. Raeder tried again. Mein Führer, this will bring America into the war. Hitler stood up. I'll handle America. You run the Navy. The meeting was over. May 1941. Raeder's strategy began to collapse. Bismarck, Germany's largest battleship, sailed into the Atlantic. Raeder had opposed this operation. Too early, he had said. Bismarck isn't ready. The crew isn't ready. If we lose it, we'll have a morale catastrophe. But Hitler had insisted. Bismarck will frighten the British. Go now. On May 24th, Bismarck encountered HMS Hood, the pride of the Royal Navy. The battle was brief and brutal. Bismarck tore Hood apart. Hood sank within minutes. 1,415 men died. Only 3 survived. Britain was shocked. Hood had been considered unsinkable. Now Bismarck had destroyed it. Churchill ordered the Navy sink the Bismarck at all costs. For 3 days, the Royal Navy chased Bismarck. Dozens of ships, hundreds of aircraft. On May 27th, they caught it. The battle began in the afternoon. British battleships and cruisers fired salvos at Bismarck. Bismarck fired back, but was outnumbered. Hours later, Bismarck was on fire, its crew dying. Captain Ernst Lindemann gave the order to scuttle. Bismarck sank. Of 2,200 crew, only 110 survived. When the news reached Berlin, Raeder was alone in his office. He sat at his desk and put his head in his hands. The loss of Bismarck wasn't just a military disaster. It was a strategic catastrophe. Hitler reacted with fury. Surface ships are worthless, he shouted. We'll focus only on submarines. Raeder tried to object. Mein Führer, we need a balanced navy. No! Hitler cut in. All resources to submarines. Raeder, if you can't deliver results, I'll find someone who can. Raeder knew the threat was real. Hitler was increasingly relying on Dönitz. Young, aggressive, sharing Hitler's vision. December 7th, 1941, Sunday. Raeder was at his home in Berlin. In the afternoon, his secretary called. Admiral, the Führer needs to see you urgently. Immediately. Raeder rushed to the Reichskanzlei. When he entered Hitler's office, the Führer was standing at his desk, hands behind his back, looking out the window. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, Hitler said without turning. They destroyed half the American Navy. Raeder froze. When? This morning. Roosevelt will declare war against Japan. Raeder's mind was racing. This changed everything. America was at war, but in the Pacific, not with Germany. Mein Führer, Raeder said carefully, This is an opportunity for us. America will focus on the Pacific. Less pressure in the Atlantic. If we're careful, we can avoid direct confrontation with America." Hitler turned. There was a smile on his face. A smile that unnerved Raeder. "No, Raeder," Hitler said. "This is our opportunity. America is busy with Japan. Perfect time to strike in the Atlantic. I'm speaking to Congress tomorrow. I'm declaring war on the United States." Raeder's heart stopped. "Mein Führer, no. You can't do this. America hasn't declared war on us. If you declare—" "I'm declaring," Hitler shouted. "The Japanese gave us a chance. We'll strike while America is weak." Raeder tried again, his voice trembling with desperation. "Mein Führer, please. This is strategic catastrophe. America's production capacity, resources. In 3 years, they'll crush us. Our submarines aren't enough. Our air defense is insufficient. If you declare war now, we lose this war." Hitler looked coldly. "Raeder, you've grown old. You've lost your vision. I'm declaring war on America tomorrow, and you will launch unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic. All restrictions lifted. Every American ship is a target. Understood?" Raeder stood straight. His career, his country, everything was collapsing. But what could he do? "Understood, Mein Führer," he said quietly. Hitler smiled. "Good. Now the real war begins." Raeder saluted and left. He stopped in the corridor, leaning against the wall. 49 years of service. He had done everything to save Germany from disaster, and he had failed. When he returned home that night, his wife Erika asked anxiously, "What happened?" Raeder collapsed into a chair. "We're declaring war on America. Tomorrow." Erika turned white. "But why? America hasn't done anything to us." "Hitler wants it," Raeder said in an empty voice. "And I couldn't stop him." Hitler spoke in the Reichstag. For hours he accused America, condemned Roosevelt, praised the Japanese attack. Then it came. "Therefore today, I declare that we are in a state of war with the United States of America." Reichstag members stood up, applauded, shouted. Hitler saluted triumphantly. Raeder was in his office that morning, didn't listen. What would he listen to? His country's death sentence? At 1400 hours, Dönitz came to his office. The young admiral was excited. "Raeder, great news. The Führer gave us total freedom in the Atlantic. All restrictions lifted. We can finally wage real war." Raeder looked at him. "Karl, do you understand what we're doing? America's production capacity? In 3 years, they'll produce 50 submarines a month. We can only produce 20 a month. The numbers are against us." Dönitz waved his hand. "Don't worry. America is inadequate in submarine warfare. We'll crush them before they organize." "What do they do, organize?" "By then, Britain will surrender from starvation," Dönitz said confidently. Raeder shook his head. There was no point arguing. The decision was made. "Very well," Raeder said. "Launch Operation Paukenschlag." Operation Paukenschlag, drumbeat, was Dönitz's plan to attack the American coast. 5 large Type 9 submarines, directly to New York, Boston, and Norfolk, attacking civilian ships, tankers, everything. "They're not ready," Dönitz had told Raeder. "There's no submarine defense on the American coast. Lights are on in ports. Ships are unprotected. It will be a massacre." "Exactly what I'm worried about," Raeder had replied. But he couldn't stop it. November 1942. Raeder prepared a comprehensive report for Hitler. 47 pages, tables, graphs, detailed analysis. Title: Atlantic War, Strategic Assessment and Recommendations. The report's conclusions were devastating. In 1942, we lost 87 submarines. In 1941, we had lost 35. Loss rate increased 250%. Crew losses exceeded 6,000 people. We're destroying British and American tonnage, but they're producing faster. In 1942, we sank 8 million tons, but the Allies built 11 million tons. Net gain, 3 million tons to the Allies. American aircraft production is multiplying. Long-range bombers are closing the Atlantic. Our submarines' freedom of movement is decreasing. Radar technology is advanced. Our submarines are no longer safe on the surface at night. Loss rates are increasing. Conclusion: with current strategy, we cannot win the Atlantic War. America's production capacity is crushing us. Alternative strategy required. Raeder presented the report to Hitler on November 28th. The Führer read 2 pages and threw it. This defeatist nonsense. Raeder, you've lost your courage. Mein Führer, these are facts, Raeder said calmly. Not emotions. Mathematics. At current rates, by the end of 1943, our submarine fleet is exhausted. Then we'll build more. There are no more crews. We're losing experienced commanders, filling their places with novices. Quality is declining. Hitler stood up. Enough! Raeder, I'm tired of you. Every meeting the same defeatist song. We can't, it's too hard. America is too strong. I need leadership that wants to win the war. Raeder stood straight. He was 67 years old. He had served for 50 years. And he knew this was the end of this meeting. Mein Führer, I'm only telling the truth. Your truth is too gloomy, Hitler said coldly. Perhaps a fresh perspective is needed. Dönitz is getting results in the Atlantic. Perhaps he should run the entire Navy. There it was, said openly, Dönitz to replace Raeder. Raeder knew his options. He could fight, argue with Hitler, try to keep his position. But what was the point? Hitler wasn't listening. He never had. Mein Führer, I would like to resign, Raeder said quietly. Hitler looked surprised. He had expected a fight, not surrender. Are you sure? I'm sure. I have health problems. I'm 67 years old. Time to retire. Hitler nodded. Very well. I accept your resignation. Dönitz will replace you. Effective January 30th, 1943. Raeder saluted. For the last time, it was an honor to serve Germany. Hitler didn't respond. He was already reviewing other documents. Raeder returned to his office. He had his assistant dictate a simple message. Grand Admiral Raeder, resigning for health reasons. Gross Admiral Dönitz to be appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine. That night at home, Erika cried, 50 years, for everything, and it ends like this. Raeder held her. I told the truth. They didn't listen. There's nothing more I can do now. What will happen now? Raeder looked out the window at dark Berlin. The war will continue. Dönitz will give Hitler what he wants. More submarines, more aggression. And America will crush them. In 2 years, maybe 3, Germany will be defeated. Are you sure? Absolutely certain. January 30th, 1943. Karl Dönitz, 51 years old, became Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine. His first order, intensify the Atlantic War. Dönitz reported to Hitler. Mein Führer, we have 212 operational submarines. Goal, increased to 300. Continuously with 100 submarines in the Atlantic will devastate Allied shipping. Hitler was pleased. Now that's what I call leadership. Not like Raeder, constantly citing problems. Dönitz launched an aggressive campaign. Submarines hunted the Atlantic in wolf packs. Mass attacks on convoys. In March 1943, 108 ships were sunk, 627,000 tons. But the Allies were also preparing. May 1943, the breaking point, the Allies deployed new technologies. Centimetric radar could detect submarines on the surface at night. Lee lights, aircraft could illuminate targets. Improved sonar, underwater detection dramatically improved. Escort aircraft carriers, air cover to mid-Atlantic. Most importantly, Enigma code breaking. The Allies were decrypting German submarine communications. They knew submarine positions, targets, routes. In May 1943, 41 German submarines were sunk. In 1 month, Dönitz was shocked. Loss rate is unsustainable, he objected to his deputy. 41 submarines, 2,000 men, were producing 20 submarines a month, losing 40. The math doesn't work. On May 24th, Dönitz gave an extraordinary order. All submarines withdraw from North Atlantic. Immediately, Hitler went mad. Withdrawal? Never. Attack. Dönitz persisted. Mein Führer, we're sacrificing crews for no effect. We need new tactics, new technology. Excuses? Hitler shouted. You're talking like Raeder. But Dönitz continued the withdrawal. In June, only 17 German submarines remained in the Atlantic. The truth was clear. The Atlantic War was lost. Between 1943 to 1945, Raeder was retired, living in an apartment in Berlin. He wrote his memoirs, 600 pages of detailed account. One passage describes his conflict with Hitler. I told the Führer in 1939, unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic will bring America into the war. In 1940, I said, if America intervenes, we lose. In 1941, I said, don't declare war on America. In 1942, I said, submarine strategy is failing. Every time I was ignored. Every time the Führer wanted victory, wanted aggression. He didn't listen to the truth. When I resigned in January 1943, our submarine fleet was still strong. 2 years later, it was destroyed. When the war ended in 1945, we had built over 1,000 submarines. 780 were sunk. 30,000 submariners died. Success rate, 75% loss. This is the most bitter lesson of the war for me. If you tell leaders the truth, they exclude you. If you tell leaders what they want to hear, you lead them to disaster. There is no middle ground between the two. When the war ended in 1945, Raeder was arrested by Allied forces. He was tried at Nuremberg for war crimes. Charges: planning aggressive war, violating submarine warfare rules. His defense was simple. I had to obey Hitler's orders. But I objected to these orders at every opportunity. The records show the court partially accepted this defense. Raeder was found guilty, but his resistance was recognized as mitigating circumstances. Sentence: 10 years imprisonment. He lived in Spandau prison until 1955. Released for health reasons. He moved to Kiel, lived quietly. He published his memoirs in 1956. Mein Leben, My Life. The book created controversy in Germany. Some saw Raeder as a Nazi. Others saw him as a professional soldier who resisted Hitler. The truth was probably somewhere in between. Raeder wasn't a Nazi ideologically, but he served Hitler, implemented his orders, supported the regime. However, on strategic issues, especially regarding war with America, he was right. Raeder's basic argument was simple. If you keep America out of the war, Germany probably defeats Britain. If you draw America into the war, Germany certainly loses. Was this argument correct? Yes. Until 1941, Britain was alone and struggling. German submarines were destroying British shipping. Economic pressure was growing. Even Churchill admitted, the submarine war truly frightened me. If America had stayed neutral, no Lend-Lease aid to Britain, and no American convoy escorts, and American air support, and American production, Britain might not have surrendered from starvation, but would have come to the negotiating table. By 1942 or 1943, probably negotiated peace. But Hitler declared war on America, and that changed everything. American intervention built 1 Liberty ship per day, produced thousands of long-range aircraft, provided unlimited resources. By the end of 1943, the Atlantic War was over. The Allies won. The German submarine fleet was destroyed. And the result? In 1945, Germany was completely defeated. Raeder had foreseen this. In 1939, in 1940, in 1941, every time, and was never listened to. Historians often ask, what if Hitler had listened to Raeder? Scenario 1, America remains neutral. Hitler doesn't declare war on America. Submarines operate carefully, avoiding American ships. Roosevelt wanted to end the war, but there's no public support. 1942, Britain under economic pressure. Churchill open to negotiation. 1943, negotiated peace. Germany holds Western Europe, focuses on fighting Soviets in the East. Result, division of Europe. Nazi Germany controls the West. Soviets control the East. Cold War begins in 1943, not 1947. Is this a good outcome? No. The Nazi regime was horrific, but it was a different outcome. Scenario 2. Submarine war delayed. Hitler keeps the submarine campaign restricted in 1939 to 1941. Waits until 1943. Attacks with 300 submarine fleet. Result, still failure. By 1943, Allied radar, sonar systems already ready. Larger fleet means larger losses. Truth, submarine warfare could never have won. Technology was on the Allies' side. Production was on the Allies' side. Time was on the Allies' side. The only difference, timing. Raeder's strategy could have prolonged the war, but ultimately, the outcome was the same. Erich Raeder died on November 6, 1960, at 84 years old. He was buried in a quiet ceremony in Kiel. Former Kriegsmarine officers attended, not former enemies. The death notice was simple. Gross Admiral Erich Raeder, former Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine. He told the truth. He was not listened to. His legacy is complex. Positive. Professional soldier, not ideological Nazi. Resisted Hitler's poor strategic decisions, correctly foresaw the dangers of war with America, understood the limitations of submarine warfare. Negative. Served the Nazi regime. Implemented Hitler's orders. Could have resisted more effectively by resigning. Civilian casualties occurred during early submarine warfare. Modern historians view Raeder as a tragic figure. A man who saw the truth but was too powerless to change it. A man who resisted Hitler's fury, but was ultimately part of the system. The best summary perhaps comes from Winston Churchill. After the war, he read Raeder's memoirs and wrote, Gross Admiral Raeder was the last professional commander to the German Navy. He told Hitler to keep America out of the war. Hitler didn't listen. If he had, the war could have been very different. Perhaps longer, perhaps bloodier, but certainly different. Raeder's tragedy is this. Seeing the truth is enough. You must make people listen. And in a totalitarian regime, no one listens. Raeder's story isn't just historical curiosity. It contains lessons for today. Lesson 1. Professional advice matters. Raeder was an experienced professional. 50 years of naval experience. He understood strategic realities. But Hitler governed by feeling, not expertise. Message to modern leaders. Listen to experts, especially when what they say doesn't please you. Lesson 2. History repeats. Raeder learned lessons from World War I. He remembered the Lusitania. He foresaw American intervention. Hitler ignored history. This time is different, he said. It wasn't. Message to modern leaders. History repeats itself. Study past mistakes. Don't repeat them. Lesson 3. Telling truth requires courage. Raeder told Hitler the truth. He knew the Führer would react with fury. He said it anyway. Dönitz told Hitler what he wanted to hear. He advanced, but led Germany to disaster. Message to modern leaders. Value people who tell the truth. Don't punish them. Lesson 4. Strategic patience matters. Raeder advocated. Wait. Prepare. Attack at the right time. Hitler wanted. Attack now. Immediately. Impatiently. Result. Strategic catastrophe. Message to modern leaders. Haste breeds bad decisions. Patience is strategic virtue. Lesson 5. Alliances matter. Raeder understood Germany alone cannot defeat America. Hitler believed German will conquers everything. Reality. Alliances win wars. Germany allied with Japan. Italy, weak partners. The Allies allied with America, Britain, Soviets, strong partners. Message to modern leaders. Build strong alliances. Choose the right partners. Erich Raeder's story is a story of failure. He was right, but not convincing enough. He saw the truth, but couldn't change it. If this story affected you, please hit the like button. Every like helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. Thank you for watching.